right now you're making a new record. Are you very concerned about leaks and things that might get on the internet without your consent?
No, not really, because I think.
How much have you heard?
What
What have you stolen while you've been in here?
I know about maybe around 5 tracks already.
Wow.
Got on my iPod. No, really.
That's more than we've recorded.
Been all leaks.
Have you secretly recorded some drums?
No, I haven't. But seriously, is that something that you worry about?
Not right
Well, now
now.
you've mentioned it, yeah.
But no, not right now. We don't. There's no one who has access to it that we don't trust.
There's only 2 people in the building who know how to open all the recording files. Even we don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
We couldn't even steal our own music at the moment.
So that wouldn't happen.
So you'd have to be a computer genius and a great burglar to get into the building and download something and mix it and possibly record some vocals.
Yeah. Maybe a bit of guitar.
Yeah, you need to be a very advanced thief at the moment to get our music. That thing is painful for us because it's just something that is not true. And it's happened to us 5 times now on the same song, where someone says you took their song.
Even Cat Stevens.
Yeah, well, I think it's 5 people, 5 different people with the same song.
That's the most plagiarized song ever. Apparently.
Well, apparently
If
so.
it is, yeah.
And it also happens to be our most successful song.
Yeah, no one ever writes any album tracks for us.
Yeah, no one ever, exactly. No one ever says we stole our unsuccessful songs. So, you know, but the good side of that was that after that whole embarrassment, we just thought, okay, we better write some even better songs. So in 2 years' time, if anyone looks at that information, they'll say, well, this band have got 57 great songs, and these people who say they wrote Coldplay songs haven't. So who, you know what I mean? So it becomes very inspiring.
Cool. Been recently on The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I was reading. I thought it was very clever. They had a headline on The Sun, the newspaper. Did you see that? The headline is, "And they were all yellow."
Right.
And it's about you and The Simpsons.
Right, yes. And it was extraordinary because when we first started the band in 1998, we would stop rehearsals every day at 5:30
To watch,
The Simpsons, you know. And so it's always been a big ambition of ours to be on The Simpsons.
You guys been on The Simpsons. You've been on 60 Minutes.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't get any more mainstream America than that.
Oprah.
American Idol.
We haven't done either of those.
American Idol.
But still, it's very mainstream. It may not be top mainstream, but 60 Minutes and
sure.
Simpsons is mainstream enough.
Like this show, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. And why do you think you guys made it there? Why do you think you guys have an appeal to a broad American audience, which is not common for many British bands?
See, we're English, so when you ask us a question like that, we just get embarrassed. We don't know how to answer that because we don't agree. We always just see the failures. Well, that's the way we're raised. When you say it like that, you think, oh yeah, it is great. But we're always just worrying about the next problem. One thing that success lets you do is have complete freedom when you go back into the studio. And so we're in that at the moment, you know, right after this we'll go back across the road and we feel more excited about making music than ever because we know that we have some audience and we know that if we do something really good, you know, some people will enjoy it.
And you're planning on releasing the new record when?
Hopefully this Christmas.
So at the end of the year.
Hopefully, yeah.
Will that be your last record with EMI, the contract?
No, I think we have about 500 more.
No, seriously.
Seriously, we signed for a lot.
Yeah, it's not the last one.
No,
I
definitely.
I was going to ask you if you're going to go like Radiohead and
No,
do your
man.
own thing.
No.
And,
We're owned. We can't do anything without asking somebody's permission.
why do you think you keep selling records in a physical format?
I have no idea. I feel like it's maybe some kind of tax break for EMI.
They haven't actually sold that much.
I think there's a big warehouse somewhere in Peru
Yeah, just watching.
full of 6 million Coldplay CDs.
Money laundering.
Money laundering.
On Coldplay's
On Coldplay.
account.
Yeah. And they make us do these concerts, and all the audience is all actors. It's like the Truman Show.
But seriously, why do you think people still buy your CDs? I mean, in huge quantities. I mean,
Well,
everybody's having such a tough time selling CDs.
Yeah. Well, our CDs are really good. You know, not all of them, but some. some. But you made me say that. I don't want to say that.
How do you feel about things that are for free on the web, out of your control?
Yeah, that's a good question. Ultimately, I'll ask Johnny.
Well, I think, to be perfectly honest, all of us as kids taped our friends' music. You know, we all did it, and I think when kids are doing it, I think it's kind of fine. Mm-hmm. It's only when you're sort of 30 and you've got a job, and you know, then it's kind of steely.
I don't mind that at all, really. In fact, I think that's a good thing. I think, you know, the file sharing issue in general at the moment is something which affects kind of new, younger bands more than it does us. You know, we've been very lucky to have a very successful, you know, career so far. You know, which started really just before the file sharing and things like that.
Right now, you're making a new record. Are you very concerned about leaks and things that might get on the internet without your consent?
No, not really, because I think.
I don't know, how much have you heard?
What
What have you stolen while you've been in here? There's only
possibly
2 people in the building who know how to open all the recording files. Even we don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
We couldn't even steal our own music at the moment.
So that wouldn't happen.
So you'd have to be a computer genius and a great burglar to get into the building and download something and mix it. On our second album, Guy, our bass player, are you talking to Guy in a minute?
Yeah.
Right, so if he did this now, he would really be worried. But on our second album, we recorded the whole thing, and he went home for the day on the train, and it said on the front, Coldplay's second album, and he left it on the train.
Really?
Yeah. And he didn't tell us. He didn't tell us for 6 months. And all that time, he was secretly worried, like, oh, shit. And then eventually, when the record came out, he said, phew.
You have one day off in Brazil. You know that already.
Just one.
You have an idea what you're going to be up to?
It depends what we've done the night before, I guess.
Depends how late the night. Yeah, maybe just. I think we just missed Carnival, though, right?
Yeah, it's this week.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a shame.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Well, the place where you're going to play in Rio is the same place where the samba
wow.
parade.
Will it still be?
happens.
They'll still be cleaning it up when we get
Probably
there.
a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
If you guys, very last question, sum up in one sentence to people in Brazil who are going to watch you guys there, what is the show like?
The show is like a great journey with a lot of singing and 4 very sweaty English people.
And we really just try and make the whole show change from beginning to end, so you never feel like you're getting bored.
When I think of South America, I think of rhythm. Is the first thing, you know, just colour and rhythm. And so yeah, it's. I think English people are by nature quite, you know, conservative, and just to go somewhere that's so different is fantastic. It's very liberating, and you know, you come back feeling full of life, and you want to, you know, take a bit of South America back to London with you.
Songs, I mean, that you play live that you think they are better, maybe 1 or 2 that you could mention, that they grow live, they're better live than they are on record? Which ones would you mention?
Well, I think obviously the more famous songs become better live because everybody is singing them with you. Nothing feels better to us as a band than, you know, communal singing. So we have a song called Viva la Vida, which is our favourite one to play, I guess, live, because in a lot of places people sing it with us, which makes my job very easy, but it also just feels incredible. Something that starts in this little room, and then it's suddenly in Brazil in big place. And
You would say these days Viva La Vida is better live than, or say Yellow, to mention one of your most famous songs.
yeah, well, those two are probably the top two. That with just two songs on it. Those two, 7 times.
Many successful British bands haven't quite become successful in America. I mean, Oasis being the first that comes to mind. They're not as big there as they are here. Why do you think you guys made it there? Even at these times, you sold like 10 million records worldwide and more than 2 million in America. Why do you think you guys have an appeal to a broad American audience, which is not common for many British bands?
See, we're English, so when you ask us a question like that, we just get embarrassed. We don't know how to answer that because we don't agree. We always just see the failures. Well, that's the way we're raised. When you say it like that, you think, oh yeah, it is great. But we're always just worrying about the next problem. Am I right, John?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But, I mean, the only thing that we have that some other bands don't have is we have an American manager called Dave, who is very, very good at convincing us to do things, even when we think it might not be a good idea.
Such as being on...
Going on tour to America for 3 months.
You know, when we first started the band, we thought we'd never even go to America, you know? But then we met this guy, Dave, and he said, no, you just come and you play and you play and you play and you play, and one day it'll happen. So we were like...
So you think that's it? It's not... Because when I asked you the question, I was thinking of musical reasons.
No, I don't think, because, you know, there's...
/ business kind of thing.
Well, it's not. It's hard for us to comment on our own music like that because some people love it and some people hate it, and there's also great artists who nobody knows about, who haven't sold any records, you know. So, obviously, we work super hard on our music, but also we've just spent a lot of time in America.
And I think also we were quite lucky.
Yeah,
you know,
very lucky.
With that, some people played us on the radio. You know, that liked our record. Our
It's
first
things
record.
beyond our control, really, isn't it, John? That's why when you ask about any kind of success with a band, it always feels quite fragile, because if you're a golfer, you can win the tournament on your own. But if you're in a
Depends on you.
Yeah.
Right, but if you're in a band, you're always reliant upon everyone else's opinion. So there's never a safe feeling, I don't think. That's why we always have to keep trying to improve.
Even though, I mean, it hasn't come to a point for you guys where you know this is going to work, this is going to be successful, this is going to sell, or it's not quite like that.
Well, when
you didn't quite have the...
Whenever that happens, you usually find that you're probably repeating yourself, and therefore it won't be successful or or interesting.
And then you try to change, but you may have changed too much. I mean...
Yeah.
And now you're just filling us with worries. We were feeling good about 10 minutes ago. But in all seriousness, you know, the one thing that success lets you do is have complete freedom when art that makes itself. It's called generative music. So if you have an iPhone, there's a program he made called Bloom, where you just press a couple of things and then this music starts to make itself.
Random?
Sort of random ambient music. And he has the same for paintings. It's a thing called 77 million paintings, where if you just load the program will make
Different combinations of
things.
But so, we were talking about your live act.
Yes.
How do you use that?
So we use it, you know, sometimes we use some of those paintings, those images, and we also use, you know, he's very into the idea of changing the size of things within a concert. So sometimes everything will look very big, and then other times it will just be the four of us in a tiny circle with one light, you know. think he's very...
That came from him.
Well, yeah, him and us, but, you know, the idea of not making something the same all the time, you know?
Playing with the scale of the event.
Yes. He's an amazing person to work with, you know, really.
And you're planning on releasing the new record when?
Well, hopefully this Christmas.
So this at the
This
end
year,
of the year.
Hopefully, yeah.
Will that be your last record with EMI, the contract?
No, I think
No.
we have about 500 more.
No, seriously.
No, seriously, we signed for a lot.
Yeah, it's not the last one.
No,
I thought
definitely.
I was going to ask you if you're going to go like Radiohead and
No,
do your
man.
own thing.
No.
and-
We're owned. We can't do anything without asking somebody's permission. I mean, it's a great thing to have a record contract. It's what every band dreams about. But ours does last until we die, basically.
Really?
It lasts a long time.
If you could, would you change it?
Well, no, because we're having a great time. I would maybe change some of the figures.
But I meant artistically speaking.
No, man, we work
Artistically, we have
with great
to-
people. You know, we're lucky.
And they give us total freedom.
You did once.
Right.
It was in Paris. It was
Right.
You and Will.
Yes.
And that New York Times article,
Yes.
slagging you off,
Yes.
had just come out.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask you, you have a new record coming out.
Yes.
Will you look at the reviews when it comes out? And if you do, who will you pay more attention to? Say the New York Times or Pitchfork?
The answer is we probably won't read it. We didn't read them on Viva La Vida.
You decided
yeah.
not to.
No, we decided not to because we reached a point where whatever we do, someone will like it and someone will hate it. And there's just no, you can't change that. It's probably like with your show. However good your show is, one
Someone
week,
will ever-
someone will say, "Oh, I don't like that show. It's too big," or whatever. And then we also started working with Brian, and we have our fifth member Phil, and we trust their opinion so much that if something is genuinely bad, we trust them that they'll tell us before we release it now. At that time, when we had the New York Times thing, we didn't have those two people to give us that feedback. So we were a little lost at that time. That's why those reviews were, at the time, depressing, but then ultimately were very constructive and useful. Would you agree?
Yeah, and the problem with reviews is you only ever remember the bad ones and the bad bits. You could have 1,000 good reviews and you'll remember the one line from the worst possible one.
I don't think we've had 1,000 good ones.
No, but if we could,
If we could.
But
Yeah.
you've admitted to some of the things that came out in that piece in the New York Times that you thought they made
Yeah,
sense
I
and
agree
were
with a lot
useful.
of it. Yeah. But I would say that we're better now than we were then. So we make sure now that we don't release anything until we're 100% convinced by it.
I read something about your live show that when you played Yellow, you used to change the melody a bit, or maybe
Yes.
too much. And then, from what I read, I was going to ask you if that's true. Michael Stipe told you not to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
It is.
Did I say that? That is actually true. He came, this was very, very early on in the tour, this was in 2008. And he was at a show, this was probably like the 7th show or something.
He came to that. It was the New York one, wasn't it?
Right.
So it's like the third. or-
Okay, yes. And I thought, I've been doing all these singing lessons, I can sing even better, I'll do some new notes, I'll be like on American Idol, I'm gonna show them what Yellow could have been as a song.
Yeah.
So I was doing not quite like that. And afterwards he was very serious. He said, "Chris, don't ever change the melody of that song again." That was it.
And you've stuck to it.
Absolutely. If he tells you to do that, there's certain people. If him or Jay-Z or Bono tell you to do anything, You just do it.
They know. They know.
Well, yeah, they do.
And has Bono told you to do something that you've done?
Yeah, he told us not to play Yellow. I think he was. I think he was trying to keep us quiet for a while.
So, but you didn't follow his advice.
No, I'm joking. He's. All of that band have been very, very sweet to our band.
You guys have outsold their new record, Rising.
Right.
I think by far. And at the same time, in the beginning, you gave the record out for free
Yep.
on your website. But
One
still,
song.
One song.
just
yeah.
one song, Violet Hill.
Mhm,
Yeah.
yeah.
And still, you managed to sell tons of records. So, why do you think you're an exception these days? Why do you think you keep selling records in a physical format, millions of records?
Well, on the first point you mentioned, our record came out a year before. You know, so and every year at the moment, record sales drop. So if our record had come out last year, it would not have sold it. You know, so
I know, I understand.
you know, you can't really compare things that didn't come out at the same time. In answer to your question, I have no idea.